So good afternoon, everybody. I think we have quite a few people already in the meeting. So thank you all for registering and taking the time for participating in this Future Resilience, our first policy roundtable. As it was explained in the registration, we are recording this meeting. We will then see if we publish on YouTube or not. We have a dedicated channel for all the meetings and events that we are having. But yeah, just I would like to share that with all of you. And we have, as you can see, a group of colleagues and experts from the Commission and from the project that will participate in the policy roundtable. And we will be very happy that you all participate in the second part, which is more an interactive part, and we would really love to hear also your thoughts on the topic that we are presenting today. So let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Matias Barberis. I'm a researcher at DEFI Center, and I'm the scientific coordinator of the project, which is Future Resilience. The project is about the topic that you see here is about evidence-based policies for building societal resilience, and we will come to that in a second to explain a bit more what the project is about. But without much delay, I still see that many people is coming into the meeting. I would like to give the word to our project officer and our policy officer. So we have Roberta Monachello from the Research Executive Agency, and then Ifigenia Potaki also from the European Commission, Director General for Research and Innovation. So Roberta, floor is yours.
Yes, Matthias, thank you very much, really. For us, it's an important event, the Policy Roundtable. So I'm really glad that you succeeded in the organization of this event. It is something that we have discussed together during the preparation of the grant agreement. It was something that was suggested, recommended, but I'm really, really glad that you took it seriously and you succeeded in the organization of this event. We attach a lot of importance on policy feedback, and such kind of meetings gives the opportunity for the policy to intervene during the life of the project and in an important moment like this one for the Future Resilience project, because we are in the mid part of the project. So yeah, thank you for this. And policy implications for such kind of projects are very, very important, as from the title as well of your project. But I mean, in general, this is also the line that we are taking for all of our ERA projects. So thank you for this, and I leave immediately the floor to you and to start with the agenda.
Thank you, Roberta. Maybe before giving the word to Ifigenia, I also would like to present the agenda of today. So we will have an introduction to the project and to the topic of knowledge valorization, which is at the core of the project. And then we will have a very specific session in which we are going to present the first results of the project, which is coming to the end of the first year, in which we have really produced quite a few things that will be the base for what's coming next, which is also something that we would like to take into consideration for discussion today. Saying that, I don't want to really take more on the floor, and I will give the word to Ifigenia Potaki, which is working at the Knowledge Valorization Unit at the European Commission. So Ifigenia, welcome to the Policy Roundtable.
Thank you, Matthias. Good afternoon, everybody. So yes, I'm Ifigenia Potaki, and I work in the European Commission in the unit that is dealing with valorization policies and IPR. I'm very happy to be here, and again, thanks to Roberta for initiating this very good idea for the roundtable, and to Matthias and the whole consortium for organizing and inviting me. So my involvement, especially with this project, is of course, from the point of view of the work program preparation and the topics and what the Commission expects. But from the moment the project has been funded, it is on Roberta's hands, and our role now is to look for the most policy relevant results as they come out from the project, and to see how we can use them for our policy, but also how we can connect these results to other policy areas where they are relevant. And I'm very happy here that there are here also some other colleagues from the Commission who maybe I will present a little bit later. So this project is especially policy relevant for us in knowledge valorization policy, and it is about the question how research results can inform public policies in different areas. So from our point of view, it is very important to test a new approach, how to test, again, available research results, which are very relevant for new policy initiatives, for policy reforms. So how knowledge can inform policy, that is the knowledge valorization part. But this project is also dealing with other very, very big policy areas: citizen engagement, knowledge for policy uptake, experimentation as a tool for policy, and resilience, and how we can be prepared for crisis and in general for living in a world of uncertainty. So all these areas are in fact even gaining importance at EU level. So I'm very glad that, as I said, some of my colleagues who are also specialists in science for policy are here. Marita, I saw before, and maybe they can say something about this in the discussion. I want to say two more things, just very specifically in this very short introduction, because I think it's important to leave the time as much as possible for our discussion and for listening and understanding the relevance of your first results. So the one thing is about the role of citizens in the valorization of knowledge. And this is on the one hand for society, but also for the market, for increasing competitiveness and innovative solutions, and for the policy. So some of the recent developments in knowledge valorization policy have been, first of all, the adoption of a council recommendation on the guiding principles for knowledge valorization. And this was a very important milestone last year in December 2022, because it created a common line among member states how to improve the use of knowledge for addressing societal challenges, for competitiveness, but also for better policy making. And these guiding principles are also accompanied in a more practical level by codes of practice. So the codes of practice are basically giving practical advice to the member states, to stakeholders, how to improve the use of knowledge in different areas. And we already had two codes of practice which are published. The one is on the management of intellectual assets, and the other one is on the use of research results for standardization. And in the beginning of next year, we will have, the Commission will adopt two new codes of practice, and the one will be on industry-academia co-creation, and the other one on citizen engagement for knowledge valorization. And I think this is the one that is very, very relevant for this project, because you are engaging citizens in testing research results for policy uptake. And some of you were also involved in the co-creation process of this code with the community of practice, and afterwards with an open survey to collect more feedback. Matthias I was very active in this, I can say, and this was very, very good, because it also highlighted the role of citizens for the policy uptake, and for the societal impact. So I don't want to say too much now about the code, but maybe we can see in the discussion. But what is important is that once the code is adopted as a Commission recommendation and will come out sometime in the next, in the first 3 months of next year, how it can be used and how it will be a useful tool for you for your own work as researchers, as practitioners who are working in this field. That would be very important for us to know how you use it, how you find it useful, also so that we can see how to support the further utilization and development of tools. So the last point I want to say is I would like to encourage you to be connected with knowledge valorization policy, because it's very relevant for your work, but also your work is very relevant for the development of our policy. So there is an ongoing awareness raising campaign in all the member states. I think today it's in Athens. And there is also a very, very useful tool, the knowledge valorization platform, where you can find all the information about knowledge valorization activities, but also best practices in different fields. For example, in citizen engagement, in policy uptake, and so on. And finally, there is recently a newsletter that you can subscribe and be informed about all our actions. I will put this information in the chat, and maybe I can also share it with Matthias later, and he can communicate to all of you. Yes, so this is all I wanted to say as a very short introduction. It's really, really important to have this roundtable and to see already the first results of a project which, in my opinion, is a very it's not a big in terms of budget, but it's very, very important in terms of potential, because it really tests a new approach to valorize knowledge with citizens and at a very practical level with experimentation. So I'm really looking forward to what you have found out, but also your challenges maybe, and what you have learned which you didn't know before. Thank you.
Thank you, Iphigenia, for this very great introduction, and I think you depicted very well what's going on right now at the Commission level and all the work that you are doing in knowledge valorization, which is quite critical for all the things that we are doing in the project, but what many people is looking forward to see at the research and policy level. And this is something that we are learning every conference that we attend, every colleague that we meet. We're always discussing the same. What do we do with the research results that we are doing, not only in this project, but in other European funded projects? And I think, at least on the topic of resilience, we are trying to move one step forward and try to contribute to this process. So for those that is the first time that you get in touch with the project, I would like to say a few words about the Future Resilience project. So as Iphigenia said, the project is using a bit the topic of resilience as an excuse to test the knowledge valorization and the science to policy process. But of course, resilience is also a very hot policy topic right now. Even though, as I was mentioning in academia, we have been working on resilience and societal resilience for a long time. The recent events and shocks and crises that we are living in our societies is pushing more and more to start working with this new approach of resilience. So this is the core of the project, trying to make a contribution to increase preparedness for future shocks that could be of different nature. And we don't know when they are going to come and how they are going to be, but we can work on preparing societies and what we call the societal fabric to really we we have been working during this first year of the project in preparing some of the basis of the project. So the experimentation is something that we recently kicked off, but for experimenting with the 10 pilot cases that we have done a few other steps. One of them is creating a knowledge base of relevant policy relevant research results, which is coming from different sources like Horizon funded projects, but also coming from international organization results. And these results has to do with resilience. So other people were already researching how to prepare societies for uncertainty and for future adverse events. So we were actually mapping that, and I will come more in detail to show some of the examples that we have found out on how to get ready for that. But this is one of the topics that we are working in the project. The second one is we are creating a toolbox for policy testing. So we have on one side all these research results, and then we need to test these results with the society and with policymakers. How can this be implemented at local level, meeting the local needs of the people of the specific regions or cities, and then to see what could be the barriers for implementations, the challenges that people will see. So we are preparing a package of tools for policy testing, mainly based on foresight, because there is also a connection between how you how we can approach resilience and how foresight tools can actually contribute to be prepared for uncertainty. But we are also proposing different type of tools, and Philin from Fraunhofer Philin Warke from Fraunhofer will also present a bit on these different tools that we are doing. In terms of experimentation, we will have 10 pilot cases that actually will work with the knowledge base. They are covering different geographic regions of Europe, and they are working on different topics. So these topics are connected to different societal challenges or specific crises, most of them also interconnected challenges. As you may have seen, probably some of you, we have 3 pilot cases that are part of the original consortium of the project. One is the Murcia case, one is the Bulgarian Association of Personalized Medicine, and the other one is the municipality of Chios in Greece. And we have run an open call for selecting 7 additional pilot cases, and the results of the open call will be announced next week. So we have undergone an evaluation process, and we have a pocket of selected cases. So for those waiting for the results, you will get the results in the coming days. So this experimentation space also is a good moment to test also how the knowledge base, which is including results of different areas, can actually work on different areas, and how can they work in different geographies with citizens with different cultural backgrounds trying to test research results, because it's not the same how we may interact with science in the south of Europe, in the north of Europe, etc., etc. So the idea is also to test how different cultural backgrounds work on this knowledge valorization process. At the end of the project, we were going to have some mutual learning activities, and we are going to prepare a policy roadmap also to encourage in the future to replicate and scale out this process in the future, and also try to increase more resilience in different areas. Some of the, let's say, more technical things about the project. So there are 3 parts that we actually are working a lot on how we build this process. So we want to work on scientific knowledge, and we think that there is a key connection on how policymaking is done right now, and what's the role of research and innovation in informing policymaking. And this is how we understand that scientific knowledge can actually contribute to develop more robust policy responses, and especially contribute to anticipate some possible events and to really reinforce societal preparedness. But also we understand that there is a very key role on the society in terms of how, on one side, policymakers, how should understand how people actually deal with complexity. So for us, the dialogue between policymakers and society is very important, because actually we all as citizens, we are thinking about how we would like to live the future. We understand the problems of our neighborhood, of our city, and we can actually interact with the scientists and with policymakers in trying to find, not only to find solutions, but also to understand the problem. Sometimes I always like to say, sometimes a policymaker maybe that doesn't take the public transport, so may not know about the problems of mobility, or maybe they know the problems of mobility because they get stuck in the traffic jam. So the idea also of interacting with citizens is trying to better understand the problems more at local level, but also involve citizens in all the policy-making process and trying to co-create together the solutions. And this is something that we would like to do also in our project. Basically, then there is the third point in which we try to work on the resilience side of the project, and is how we can address uncertainty. We don't know what's going to come in the future, so that's why we thought that working with foresight tools and specifically with developing scenarios can help us prepare for something that we don't know how it would be, when it's going to happen. So what we call the anticipatory governance, it's about finding solutions that could be helping to deal with different kind of possibilities of the future. So it's like, as we said here at the end of the red box, it's having plan A, B, or C for X, Y, or Z situation. So we need to be ready for whatever would come in different ways. And this is how we understand that the research and innovation can play actually a very key role in preparing societies for the future. So I would stop here. I don't want to really go in deep in the presentation of the project. You have a website, you have flyers of the project in different languages. We have managed to translate into 10 or 12 languages. You have a project video also in which we explain a bit more conceptual developments, and more material is going to come soon about the project. So I would just give the word to Chiara, that she's going to explain the methodology of the rest of the policy roundtable. Then I will come back in a second explaining one of the products. But I would like Chiara to talk with all of you and explain how we are going to also work with the questions and everything.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Matthias, for introducing me. Hi to every policymaker. Thank you for presenting the project, and also thank you to Virginia for the first part, and Roberta for the first part. Now we will start effectively with our roundtable, with the main section of the roundtable. The first part is devoted to the evidence-based policies for societal resilience. So we have Matthias that will explain us how the knowledge-based policy evidence has been developed, especially by the group of NTNU group. And then we have Firin from Fraunhofer ISI that will explain that the part of the construction about the toolbox that she has done in collaboration with her colleagues from the Fraunhofer ISI, such as Kerstin Tulsk, that I don't know if he's here today, but I think that Kerstin, it cannot be here today, if I don't remember bad. So we have 10 minutes for Matthias and 10 minutes for Firin. Then we have around 40 minutes, 10 minutes for each case study to explain what they are doing, what is the idea, and what is the point of the case studies that we have now. So the future, more specifically, we have called them Future Resilience Labs. So each one from Bapamed and Kios and Murcia as to explain that in 10 minutes. And then we have 40 minutes, more or less, to question and answer. If policymaker has some, we would like to be as informal as possible. We would like to collect all information and all the experience that other policymakers from other parts of Europe could give us. And now I think that we can start with Matthias. Matthias, I will present you because you didn't present yourself at the beginning, I think so. So Matthias is our leader of Future Resilience from Epicenter, specialized on resilience and socio-economic impact. So I give the floor to Matthias, and you have 10 minutes to explain how the evidence-based policy of societal resilience, so the knowledge-based policy evidence that we have developed, through the group of NTNU. Thank you, Matthias.
Thank you, Chiara. I would maybe just like to remark that this is a process that was led by NTNU, but actually was a collaborative work of all the consortium. So the mapping and also the construction of the toolbox were actually involving different partners of the consortium. So the first output that we prepare is a knowledge base that during the part of the experimentation that it's going to last all 2024, it's going to be in beta version. That means that it's going to be close to the participants of the pilots and policy officers from the Commission. But then this is going to be open access for everybody in 2025. So when we are, we have the certainty, hopefully, that the knowledge base is robust enough for everybody, we will open so everybody can access the results. Results that are actually already available, but they are in different sources. So as I explained before, we went through a very detailed mapping that was searching all the research results and policy recommendations that are contributing to strengthen and to build resilience, and specifically societal resilience. So there was one of the discussions. So as you may know, we are talking a lot about resilience right now, but we wanted to focus on societal resilience. And societal resilience has to do with the capacities of communities and the abilities of the community to withstand with adverse events that may come in the future. So all the solutions that we have included in the knowledge base has to do with different areas that can actually improve the capacities of the society to really be prepared for the future. So there are solutions that could be also in preparing buildings or in preparing or using some technological developments for preparing for adverse events. This is one thing. We wanted to focus on more soft developments, but there will be some solutions that has a degree of technological development. For selecting these solutions that we have in the knowledge base, that so far we have 600 solutions that are going to be included in the knowledge base, and we are in the process of uploading everything to the website, and we are halfway to that. These solutions are actually touching upon, as you can see here, about different areas. So what was the rationale for creating the knowledge base is understanding that different type of crises are impacting different areas of the society. So we don't want to focus on climate crisis or on migration crisis or on a financial crisis, but we want to understand what are the underlying factors, the typical areas. When we got the COVID, or when we got the inflationary processes, or we got the energy problems now after the war in Ukraine, then we got different areas that were actually impacted. We got impacts on education, we got impact on health systems, we got impact in local businesses, etc. So as you can see, there are different areas, and we try to map all those areas that are usually the most impacted. And the solutions that we are uploading to our knowledge base are related to these very specific areas. So when you want to create resilience for the future, the idea is that you can navigate on these solutions that were proposed by Horizon 2020 or Horizon Europe projects, or policy recommendations coming from international organizations that will actually tell you you can be more robust or more flexible, or prepare your economy or your housing policy or your health policy on this way or in this other way. So the idea of the solutions were that should be part of any of these areas. But on top of that, we wanted to have a baseline of solutions of, as you may know, there is the technological readiness level for all the technology and more hardware type solutions. So we applied something different, which is also studied in the academia, which is the societal readiness level. So is the solution tested already in the society or not? And then we decided to at least include solutions that have a societal readiness level goes from 1 to 9. And we included those of 1 level that has at least tested in a pilot case. So we know that there are many Horizon projects that they have, as we have pilots, they have pilot cases. So many of these Horizon projects that had tested solutions, then these solutions and these research findings that has to do with resilience are included in our knowledge base. This is very important for us, because we are not saying that other solutions that has not been tested are not useful. They may be useful, and this is something that we would like to discuss also with you, is which kind of evidence you would like to see. If you would like to see more novel evidence, like research findings just out of the laboratory but not yet tested on the society, or if you would like to see something like what we are proposing is something that has been already tested, which also has another meaning, could be tested successfully in one country or in one city, but it may not work in another city, or something that may not have worked in one city could work in a different one. And this is something that we are very happy and proud that many of the documents that we are uploading include lessons learned and challenges at local context, so people can actually read that and understand what could be potential challenges for policy implementation in their local places. Without going very much in detail, I would like to show you some of the examples that we included. So I'm not sure if you will see my mouse, but at least on the top side, you will see how it looks like in the knowledge base. When you see a catalog of nature-based solutions for urban resilience, you will have the date in which the entry was uploaded to our knowledge base. You will have some labels that has to do with the classification related to resilience that we wanted to propose. So this solution is mostly related to environment and biodiversity. Housing is about which kind of solution it is. So it's about regulatory or targeted measures. It's about resources allocation. To which phase of a crisis is related. In this case, it's about preparing for future events. And then you will have a link that will open the document which is already open access in a different website. In this case, for instance, is from the World Bank. And then you have, this is a catalog of nature-based solutions. And then the solutions usually are very, very easy to follow. So in this case, it's about urban farming. And urban farming is a typical solution that has to do with a society. So at local level, you are going to work with farming, and this is something that could help to solve different type of issues. Issues like are here highlighted, for instance, about heat regulations or flood regulation, which is, for instance, one of the topics that our case of Murcia is dealing with, which is urban heat islands. And then you have what are the typical benefits. This is just an example. Of course, there are plenty of text accompanying these graphics and explaining what could be the specific measures that could be implemented. But like that, we have different things that we want to include. So we decided to showcase today a few of them. So for instance, we have a training module about the smart cities, which is about related also how we develop our cities of the future, which is in our category of housing or urban development. Or we have targeted measures about disaster risk financing instruments, which is related to our area of finances, how we can improve our finances to be prepared for future adverse events, in this case disasters, but could be also applied to different crises. But also we have, for instance, how we can approach circular economy topics, for instance, by using a game in schools. So this is a sort of a tool that was already tested. These are coming from European projects, European funded projects by the Commission that has tested the result in the society, and they are proposing something that for us has to do with how we can prepare the societies to be better prepared for the future. But they are also connected to some key topics. So smart city is a topic that we are talking a lot right now. In the future, there was also this European Bauhaus movement about what could come now in Europe. There is a lot of work in disaster risk management and how finances can actually contribute to be prepared for future disasters. But also circular economy is a hot topic right now also within the Green Deal policies. So our solutions are touching upon also some other policy relevant areas. Like this, there are plenty of examples. We don't really want to take a lot of time here to showcase many of them. You will have the possibility, at least in 1 year time, to see them openly. And for the pilots, they are already available, and you are already receiving the links to log into the website and to start navigating the knowledge base. So as I said, we are halfway uploading. There are 600 documents that we are uploading, and we keep working on that. So the type of solutions will include not only these research findings, but also good practices. So every pilot case during our implementation, we'll work on different topics, and these topics could have some good practices that we may not have included in our knowledge base, but are actually useful for finding policy solutions, and citizens also find them very interesting for addressing the problems at local level. So saying that, I will stop, and maybe I will give the word to Philin. Okay, Chiara, you want to present probably Philin, and Philin,
Yeah.
Feel free to tell me to go over the slides. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthias. Perfectly on time. Thank you so much. Now it's time to present the resilience in practice, so the toolbox for policy testing by Philin Huerta, which is who is the coordinator of the business unit FUTURES dialogues in the Competence Center for Sight of Fraunhofer ISI, and he is part of one of our partner in Future Resilience. So I give the floor to Philin. You have 10 minutes to present our Future Resilience Toolbox. I give you time. So it's now 2:37. So you have 10 minutes until 2:47, more or less. And so the floor is yours, Philin. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you very much, Chiara, for the kind introduction. And thank you also, Roberta and Iphigenia, and Matthias, of course, also for organizing this opportunity for presenting our first results. I would like to start like Matthias to emphasize this is very much a collaborative work together with Martin, who is here from Copenhagen Institute of Foresight and the Foresight Center Estonia. And I think, Evgenia, you said what we have learned and what we didn't know before. And this was one of the first learnings, I think, that we came together as 3 foresight organizations across Europe, that even though we knew of each other, we have not collaborated much before, but when we started on this, it was really a surprise to see how well how quickly we had a common understanding of the processes suitable to use foresight for knowledge valorization and for policy testing. And this is one of the first pleasant surprises we had in this project. I don't know, Martin, how you see it. At least for me, it was this was a very good experience, and I think also an interesting insight for Europe. As you also said, it's becoming more and more important on European level to also use foresight. We have the strategic foresight report, so to achieve a common understanding of using foresight for all sorts of things like knowledge valorization. I think it's a very important step in itself in the process. So, but now starting with the toolbox, what is it? What does it provide? In a nutshell, it provides a method for policy testing. It is a step-by-step guideline and provides supporting material for policy testing through a participatory multi-stakeholder futures dialogue. And I think, Iphigenia, you also mentioned many times the importance of society, of citizens in knowledge valorization. And this is why we have set up a participatory process, not something not a formal or purely calculation method or statistical way, but really a participatory process to do this policy testing. And it provides support for different steps of such a foresight process, starting from the very early policy problem definition, system mapping, analyzing what are the stakeholders, analyzing what are the influencing factors, looking to weak signals and wildcards. And this is especially important, obviously, for crisis situations, not only to look at the well-known trends, but also at the small signals and at the possible disruptions. And then scenario development, and finally wind tunneling, which is, well, it's a bit maybe foresight jargon, but it's really nothing else than stress testing and policy testing against different possible context scenarios to be prepared for uncertain futures. But also we didn't, well, we started from foresight, but this is maybe also one of the surprising insights. The real multitude of other approaches that are maybe not called foresight, but closely linked and doing very similar things like participatory modeling, participatory mapping, and things like this. So we decided not only to focus on the foresight process here, but also to provide links to many other tools that are maybe not called foresight, but often very specifically also for specific crisis situations. And we also had a wealth of such tools from the knowledge base that Matthias introduced. Of course, when we were searching, we were finding these resilience related results, but we also often came across tools that were very similar here. So that also very much enriched our work on the toolbox. Yeah, maybe Matthias, can you go further? So this is a bit of an example. If I still have time in the end, I can also show this. The whole thing is on a Miro board and very similar to the knowledge base. This is in a well, pilot version now. It's finalized for now. But of course, through the experience, because all our pilots, all our cases will use this toolbox and go through the process, and that will allow us to improve and to change. So at the end of the project, this will really be finalized and also be openly accessible. And this is an example for the kind of support. There's a guideline. Also, there is a deliverable where the whole guideline can be downloaded. So it's, if people don't want to use the Miro board, this is another possibility. But this is an example, a template for stakeholder analysis. There's a brief explanation and very down-to-earth stepwise approach how to do it. But there are also templates that the pilot cases can use, fill in, and to actually do their own participatory foresight process to test the input from the knowledge base. Of course, this is an important step within the project, within the foresight process, that at some point the pilots or the users, they download or they extract the knowledge from the knowledge base and then test it through the foresight process. And on the right here, you find an example for the not exactly foresight, but related tools here, the disaster resilient scorecard for cities, for example. Of course, foresight and resilience tools are always very closely related because resilience is all about preparing for different possible futures, very much like foresight. Yeah, maybe to the last, maybe a bit of reflection, why foresight for knowledge valorization? Because maybe it doesn't come as a first thought if you talk about knowledge valorization. And if I'm not mistaken, the basic definition of knowledge valorization is turning research results into sustainable products and solutions for the public good. And an immediate foresight contribution is to substantiate this sustainable products and solutions. So that means it's not just immediate for the immediate need, but something for the long term. And that's something that foresight does, improving the sustainability of the solutions. It's for emerging challenges, not only for the challenges that are now here at hand, that will be different ones tomorrow, but it allows them to think these things in a more long term, and also to translate them to their specific territorial and sectoral context. I mean, I guess this is one of the main also issues in knowledge valorization, that there's no one size fits all knowledge, and you have to translate it into each context. And these participatory foresight processes are a way to realize this translation into the specific context, but not only into their context today, but also in thinking a bit further how this context could evolve. So it's improving the long-term aspect of knowledge valorization, sustainability. But a second aspect that is maybe, to my mind, at least of the same importance, is that the process also improves the capacity of the system for further knowledge valorization in a way through going through this joint these shared learning processes with different stakeholders looking at different futures, you improve the capacity to also, you open their perspective for more possibilities. So you improve the system capacity. Sometimes in research also talked of as absorption capacity. You have changes in the attitudes, you form new linkages. So it makes the whole system more conducive to embed new knowledge and also to really take this knowledge seriously, because this is often a problem. You can use some policies or some insights or extract from the knowledge base, but to actually react on it, to make changes in the system, that is a real challenge. And this is something that can be improved through this participatory foresight. So I would say, in a way, foresight is a way of underpinning resilient knowledge valorization. So this is why we decided to have this focus on the participatory foresight process here in our toolbox. But as I said, there are many other related tools that we are also closely linking to. Yeah, I think.
Oh, have you handed?
Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you so much, Fidin, for being on time perfectly. You too. Now it's time to present the Future Resilience Lab that we already have. They come from 3 European areas. The first one is from Murcia, the second one is from Chios, and the third one is from Bapemed. Now it's time to present them one at a time. Each one has 10 minutes to present them. We start from Murcia Lab. To present that, we have the Professor Fernando Garcia from the Universidad Politécnica de Cartagena, which is the leader of the Murcia Lab. So, Fernando, the floor is yours. You have 10 minutes to present what the lab is going on. So, thank you so much for presenting the lab today.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for presenting me. I will share my screen, some slides to present our resilience lab in Murcia. Okay, we are in the southeast of Spain, and our lab is focusing in develop a co-creation space to support citizen science and crop mapping, particularly focused on climate change impacts. What are these key challenges in our case? One of the we've tried to concentrate in 3 of them. First one is to reduce heat island impact, to improve the ability of the public spaces, and especially trying to use nature-based solutions that can increase also the biodiversity and the urban landscapes. We are in the southeast Spain. We are in a warm climate, and especially in the summer, we are suffering not like a future challenge, but also like a present challenge, some days of heat waves. And in these days of heat waves, the heat island, the urban heat islands are especially more intense in some part of the city. That's imagine a study of that 16 different cities in Spain, and I imagine is the one from Murcia, where we can see different temperatures of some urban areas that are higher than the areas around it, just because the form of the city, the materials of the city, the absence of nature elements in these spaces. And that's what this urban heat island challenge is mainly focused on. Our second challenge is to reduce flash rainfalls and flooding impacts. Also, we are in a kind of dry area, but with intense rainfalls that are also increasing in the times that occur along the year. These are images for the 2 last years of floodings in the city of Murcia, different areas of the city, but also one of the main channels in our city. Not only about the effects of this area, but also like a social or citizen preoccupation or worried about this phenomenon. And our third challenge is trying to increase the compactness of the city as a way also to reduce transport needs, and also to make the city more accessible to all the services and so on. So that's kind of the line of this 15-minute cities design or objectives that also in the European agenda and recently also in the Spanish agenda. How we will work with the cities and the policymakers doing this lab? Okay, we try to focus in two pilot areas of Murcia. One is the neighborhood of Vista Alegre, which is one of the most affected to this heat island impact, and the other one is in Espinardo, in the northeast part or northwest part of the city, more focused on the flooding events and also this this presence a bit out of the main city, which the compact city and the proximity is not achieved already. We planned to develop around this 2024 a citizen lab with different phases. First one is to try to help the citizens and policymakers to understand the problems. These three main challenges that I exposed it just now, and then try to make a community mapping to try to involve the different types of city users in the mapping or what are the parts of the city that are more affected to this challenge, and also why are these parts of the city more affected. And then later we plan to do, hopefully with Philin, a foresight workshop to develop what could be the future scenarios that we can face in the future if we make something or if we don't make anything. And also then part of the hackathon, or where we would try to invite to the citizens and policymakers to try to make a solution or to develop solution especially for these local challenges. And finally, we will try to to summarize all these parts in some final policy workshops that try to involve also the local policies with all the knowledge that we developed in the previous part. In this 2023, we make some workshops just trying to test a bit this lab that we will develop around next year. We made already a workshop in Vista Alegre in October with a first part to try to understand the problem when we expose to the citizens that come to this workshop. What are the urban heat islands? What are the causes? How is the urban heat island in Murcia? What are the impacts? Also, what can we do to reduce this urban heat island with nature-based solution? And after this first day, focused on understanding the problem, we take this community mapping. So we go out with them out to the streets and try to assess how are the different parts of this neighborhood according to this urban heat island problem. So we check it to use this place standard to just a form that they have to fill up with the knowledge that they received the previous day to evaluate or to assess different aspects like the form of the urban form the urban form, the presence of nature, materials, activities that are present of the city. So also we can then use this answer to test how they made the evaluation after receiving this knowledge of what are the causes and of the urban heat islands. So if they then can recognize these causes in the real world, in the neighborhood of Vista Alegre. So we obtain some preliminary, let's see, first preliminary results with a valorization from 1 to 7 of the spaces, let's say to the urban form of different parts of the city, to the presence of nature. Also, we received some comments. I didn't translate the comments, sorry. Also about the surface materials or the activities that are present, like traffic, etc. We can obtain a partial, because we didn't or couldn't obtain evaluation of all the cells of the grid, but we could observe that the people, if we compare the results from the that we have this measure of the urban heat island in Murcia with the valorization, with the assess that the assistant to this workshop realized that so we see that they recognize also what are the causes for this that some part of this neighborhood are especially affected for the urban heat island, and also we discovered that they can give us some detailed information related to the causes, even with obtaining results that the satellite images and other sources couldn't obtain. So after this preliminary workshop, we think also that the benefits that the project could bring to our community, first one is like to provide to the community knowledge of how to improve the characteristics of the city to this in facing this effect of urban of climate change. Also to be able to obtain proposals from the citizens and the policymakers to improve the city's response to the management of these characteristics, and also like to promote the development of action, like if the people knows the problem and has the capacity to make proposals, they are probably going to also to promote and to ask to the policymakers that take actions about these problems. The advantage of using this evidence, of course, is like it could help us to provide rigorous, rational, and technical visions with in order that the results of are more valuable. But also we tested in Vista Alegre that the citizens with knowledge based of evidence could also help to assess the vulnerability of urban heat islands in this case, and also trying to, or could be also helpful in the assess of other effects of climate change. But also probably we think that are some barriers with deficits in knowledge, also the different typologies of the research that are not speaking the same language, let's say all of them. So we need some multidisciplinary approach to the knowledge base. Also some needs of fundings to obtain better knowledge and better data about this problem, and also some barriers are related with the communication that of the problem and of the measures that are able to or are needed to develop. So yeah, that's all. Thank you for your attention.
So much, Fernando, for the presentation. I remember that if somebody has some questions, they could use the question and answer box, or at the end of the next two presentations, we have 40 minutes for discussion with everybody. But if you have something in the meanwhile, you can use the chat or the question and answer box. Now it's time for the second Future Resilience Lab presentation. It's the Kiosk Lab. we would like to thank Sani Sigala. I hope that it's right pronounced. From the municipality of Chios in Greece that present the Chios lab. So Sani, the floor is yours. You have 10 minutes from now. So the floor is yours. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Chiara. Thank you very much. Just give me one moment to share my screen. Is it okay? Can everybody see?
Yes, we see it. If you want to use the full screen presentation, it's better, I think so, because we see the PowerPoint form.
I have.
Yes, we have the PowerPoint, but if you put it in the full screen mode, which is down.
I have already done it, but.
Okay, but we see. Okay, it's not a problem. We already read the PowerPoint and the slides, so it's right.
Okay, so I'm going to present you here's case study, the impact of migration crisis. The key points about refugee crisis in here's 2015 and 16 are the influx of refugees. Here's became one of the focal points for refugees and migrants attempting to enter Europe. They often arrive by sea, crossing from nearby Turkey. Overcrowded camps, the island struggled to cope with a large number of arrivals, leading to overcrowded refugee camps. Conditions in these camps were challenging, and there were concerns about sanitation, healthcare, and overall living conditions. Humanitarian response. The crisis prompted a humanitarian response with various international organizations, NGOs, volunteers working to provide aid and support to the refugees. Tensions and challenges. The situation created tensions and challenges within the local community and strained resources. There were challenges in coordinating response and managing the needs of both the local population and the incoming refugees. And the European-Turkey agreement. In an effort to address the crisis, the European Union reached an agreement with Turkey in March 2016, aiming to curb the flow of refugees into Greece. The agreement includes provisions for the return of migrants to Turkey and financial assistance to support the refugees there. The main role of the stakeholders in migration is to collectively address and manage the challenges associated with the movement of people, ensuring comprehensive human and coordinated response. This involves responsibilities such as policy making, humanitarian aid, service provision, advocacy, and community integration. The collaboration of these stakeholders is indispensable for a well-coordinated, compassionate, and effective response to the complex challenges posed by migration crisis. The key challenges and benefits of our lab were HERES has been affected by migration that went hand in hand with significant humanitarian challenges. Managing the arrival of and well-being of refugees, along with the economic recession of Greece, was a big challenge for us. When the first refugees arrived, the access in healthcare was necessary, and the migration crisis in HERES highlighted not only those practical challenges, but of the resource allocation, but also revealed the presence of xenophobia among certain segments of the local population. Achieving a balance between the full inclusion of migrants into their host society and security concerns is often a complex challenge for the policymakers. Migration is a shared global challenge that requires collective action, and it is important working together to find comprehensive and sustainable solutions. Migration can also bring diversity and cultural richness to our community, encouraging a more dynamic society through the exchange of ideas and practices. Migrants play a crucial role in the economic development of any of their host communities, by filling gaps in the labor market, fostering entrepreneurship, and contributing financially through tax payments.
I'm sorry, Fanny, you are at the second slide, or you are doing in other slides? You are explaining other.
No, I'm at the first. I'm at the key challenges.
Okay. We see key points about the refugee crisis on Caius.
I don't.
So the second slide of your presentation, maybe.
I have no. Okay, give 1 minute to see.
Yeah, because sorry for the interruption.
Don't worry.
Okay, now we see what are the advantages, now the stakeholder role in migration, and now what are the key challenges of your lab and what benefit will the project bring to your community?
Do you see it?
Yeah, now we see that.
Okay, so citizen participation and social cohesion are one of the benefits that the lab will have to our community. Social cohesion is essential for building inclusive communities and reducing tensions and promoting the well-being of all individuals affected by the migration crisis. So I'm going to move to the advantage and barriers of using evidence. Can you see this presentation?
Oh, maybe you have to get out to the full screen presentation and use only the PowerPoint.
Is it? Do you see it now?
We see advantages and barriers, so maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, decision making based on data contributes to the effective and fair management of policies, serving the public interest and promoting the sustainability of solution. By analyzing data, like studying historical migration patterns, socioeconomic factors, policymakers can predict future challenges, needs, and develop strategies to address. And using data contributes to more effective approaches of managing migration challenges, ensuring that limited resources are used where they're needed the most. The utilization of evidence and data might face challenges like insufficient data during a migration crisis undermines decision-making, leading to challenges in resource allocation and increased vulnerabilities in addressing the needs of both migrants and the host community. Political influences can affect the objectivity of the study or maybe the process of policy development. Striking a balance between political realities and evidence-based policymaking is crucial for developing effective and equitable solutions. The presence of contradictions in policy implementation can also pose challenges to addressing the complexities of the migration crisis, and the impact of certain measures may be limited in scope, and a more long-term approach may be necessary. And and now, how are we envisioned to work with policymakers and citizens? To effectively engage with policymakers and citizens in his case study is crucial to adopt a collaborative approach. This involves active stakeholder engagement, transparent communication, and collaborative decision-making. The way we envision to work with policymakers and citizens is through webinars, community workshops, public events, to collaborate with local media to disseminate information about the study, and youth involvement programs. To be honest, we faced a lot of challenges in approaching local authorities due to the recent elections. They believe it was preferable to involve individuals from the new municipal authority, but we're organizing a workshop in the middle of December during which policymakers will engage in an open dialogue with citizens. And this is it. Thank you very, very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Danny, for your presentations. And now it's time for the last Future Resilience Lab, last but not least, which is the BAPEMED Lab presented by Martin Cruz, which is the Senior Future Resilience Lab leader of BAPEMED Lab. So Martin, the floor is yours, 10 minutes as the other. And thank you so much for being here today with us.
Thank you. Are you seeing the presentation?
Yes, right.
I'm presenting the case for. So I'm Martin from the Copenhagen Institute for Future Studies. I'm one of the partners, and presenting the case for BAPEMED, which is the Bulgarian Association of Personalized Medicine. So our case here is really about looking into the potential crisis that we see in the future. So what we're doing here is like the same with the other cases. Is we're using a foresight analysis to identify policies, policy recommendations, and robust strategies in order for us to create a more resilient healthcare system. And I think what is crucial here maybe is really to understand the challenge. So looking at the key challenge before us, what we're seeing is that the expenditure on health care system as percentage of the GDP is increasing, and that's really a case for most of the countries in Europe. Actually, many of the countries, most of the countries around the world. And this has to do with the fact that demographic development, aging, and the growth of non-communicable diseases is skyrocketing, and we actually have doubled the share of expenditure in many countries on healthcare. Now that cannot really, it's not sustainable for the long term. So there's different approaches to handle this, but one of the approaches is at least that when you look at the social determinants of health, what we see is that it's divided between environmental and social factors, personal behavior and family history and genetics, and then medical care, the quality of the medical care. And what we are doing is we're focusing on the last part, which means we're in a situation where we look at people who are sick. We try to make them better. We try to make sure that they can live their lives. And so we engage with them when they're sick rather than to engage with them at a point when they are healthy. And we know that engaging with them with preventive care is probably a lot more, from a financial point of view, it's much better. So there's various ways you can do that, make preventive measures, and there's policies that can be used in order to safeguard people. A well-known preventive policy is, ban or taxation against smoking. So that reduces the amount of lung cancers. But there's also interlinkages with some of the other areas that we're working with here, and we're focusing on in this consortium. So there's a example from Lancet, which shows that if people eat according to the climate, so not as has such an impact on the climate, it actually would reduce the burden on healthcare by 15%. So there's various ways where we can integrate benefits from the healthcare system, but also actually at the same time reduce the impact on climate and so forth. So, so what are the benefits? Well, the benefits here, of course, are plenty, but we try to bring stakeholders together and share best practices throughout using the data that we have collected from the policies from around Europe, and try to engage a lot of actors in Bulgaria. And the benefits we get out of that is, of course, that we hope in the long run to get a healthier population, but also a population that takes health into their own hands. And why is that? Well, prevention is much more about the individual and the individual actions rather than the healthcare system. But it's also somewhat of a difficult part because, you know, you cannot just get a pill, right? But you can actually do something like go to the gym and so forth. So there's various ways one can engage with that, but it really has to do very much to do with the individual. So the individual being informed of what to do and so forth. But there's various ways where one can promote regulatory actions, taxation policies, and so forth to incentivize for those actions. And that in the long run, it will create a better use of government finances, because at the moment we're using it in after the fact, after people have gotten sick, rather than for prevention. So looking at the advantages and barriers of using evidence, well, the advantage is, of course, that if we can look at policies that have been tried and tested elsewhere, it does give us an advantage. But of course, we also need to be aware of the fact that, as has been mentioned before, that best practices is not just something one can introduce and expect for it to be applied or applicable everywhere. So another advantage is that the Bulgarian government, the election that was in Bulgaria, they actually has a focus on improving healthcare. So we think we are able to engage with the health ministry on this. So I think this is a benefit for us. There is, as I mentioned, there's interlinkages with a lot of other policy areas, climate change, as I mentioned, climate policies and so forth. And given the fact that regulations like behind many of the advances that we've seen in medicine, there's many low-hanging fruits, which I think is an advantage. But of course, there's also the barriers. So there's the barriers that I just mentioned about the fact that we kind of just expect best practices to be introduced and work everywhere. There is a big barrier in the sense that there's a system lock-in. So in a sense that when you change systems that are so embedded, so that are has so many actors that are internet in such a complex ways, it is of course a difficult task to do. So there's political infrastructures, there's political barriers, there's infrastructure barriers, there's reimbursements policies. There are so many issues that needs to be taken care of, and there's the way that finance is done, so from the government side, but also from the private sector, insurance sector, and so forth. There is the issue that prediction, prevention, and early diagnosis is still in the background, and the fact that we don't. There's still a lack of data collection in many areas, and this is particularly the case for Bulgaria. So how do we initiate to work with policymakers and citizens? Well, I think we're gonna work with the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Education and Science, and we're gonna work with the private sector, but also, and most importantly, I think maybe we're gonna work with the general public and civil organizations. So national patients organizations, and so forth. So we have a couple of workshops, and we cannot engage everyone. There's simply a limit to the amount of people we can have at a workshop. So what we've considered is really to do to engage people through questionnaires and so forth, so that we know that there's a wider stakeholder landscape that we want to engage this, but can't necessarily be at the workshop. So we have measures to engage them in the process. Yeah, that's all for me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to everyone for the presentations. Now I think we are perfectly on time. We have more or less 40 minutes for open questions that could touch different points. We have some possible suggestions through our slides, but anything it's right. I think that we can use this kind of approach. If somebody has questions, please raise your hands so I can check the right order of people and give them to the floor. So I see 2 raised hands. I see Figenia, please.
Okay, I don't know if I was first, but thank you.
Yeah.
Really very, very interesting. I very much liked the 3 different pilot cases that you showed, coming from 3 different sectors: climate, migration, and healthcare. This was a very nice combination. And it was very good in the 3 pilot cases that you aim to engage with the policymakers directly to, in the HEOS case with the municipality, as challenging as that can be, is very important, or with the ministries or with the city and so on. So this was really great to hear. The one question I have, I will go from the last presentations to the beginning, to Matthias. So the first question is for Martin and Jenny. It's the same question really. It's very simple. I was wondering, what do you see, in your view, what do you actually use from the Future Resilience project? Because it seems to me also that you have a very independent study and project. So how do you see the connection? What do you gain by being part of Future Resilience, apart from the network? Okay, how do you use, for example, the tools developed and so on? That was for Jenny and Martin, and then I go to Miguel. It was very nice, Miguel, the mix of methods that you showed about how you are going to work in the next stage. And I think for the other 2 pilot cases, they can also learn from this, because they are less advanced in thinking the concrete plan of the methods, of the mix of methods. And this was also one of the areas that we discussed very much with the community of practice in developing the code of practice for citizens engagement. So I wanted to ask you, how did you decide this very nice mix of methods? So for example, how you decided to bring hackathons, and what was your rationale, and how can you advise others to choose the right mix? So I think then we go to, sorry if I can go then to Philin. It was very nice, Philin, that you made this link very clearly between knowledge valorization and foresight, bringing the question of sustainability, but also capacity for further knowledge valorization. You said, I really like the way you explained this. And then you said that it is the whole approach is very much down to earth, and I fully understand that and share it. But do you think that maybe someone could say that this is also a little bit academic, and that in practice, policymakers will not go and, use this toolbox because it's a little bit, it would not directly, relate to them or be easy to use, let's say, unless there is some way to do it in a less academic level. But this is just, what some people would say. So I just want to get your view on that, because this will also impact on how the case studies, the pilots, will actually connect to the toolbox and use the tools, which would be a really great thing to happen in this project. And then for Matthias, where are you, Matthias? Okay, for Matthias, I think, yeah, one question I had, it was very nice how you structure the knowledge base. And I was thinking, okay, you have the different sectors, let's say, the different challenges, planet, and so on. How do you combine disciplines? So do you have really transdisciplinary approaches of the knowledge there? And if not, what is the balance of social sciences and humanities to other, what some people call hard sciences? And also, if you can say a little bit, how do you deal with intellectual property rights of the solutions? I have more questions, but I will stop there because, I cannot ask you after the meeting. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Eugenia. I start from the beginning, so please, Matthias, answer us first, and then we go down to Feline and Fernando, Jenny, and Martin.
That's not really fair that I'm the first, but it's fine. I can go. So in terms of disciplines of the solutions, I think we didn't actually follow saying, okay, we need to focus on social sciences or on the hard sciences. The solutions many times, because the projects, especially European projects, are already pushing a lot on multidisciplinarity. So many of the solutions are already result of multidisciplinary processes. Sometimes there could be some that have a big component of social sciences. Some of them are a bit more balanced, but actually what we wanted to see are the policy relevancy of the solution. So we actually checked that the solutions were easy to understand by a general public. So we had this filtering mechanism in which every time we came up with the solution, we were analyzing if they were easy to understand, if there were any way to monitor the implementation, if there was policymakers or citizens also involved in the design of the solution. So there were some filters that we use. We have a report that it's also going to be published openly for everybody, in which all the methodology of how we built the knowledge base is explained. So I think that in terms of balance. For the intellectual property, of course, that was a big challenge for us, because we said there should be open solutions. Otherwise, we need to ask for the rights of sharing. So luckily, also, the European Commission is also pushing very much on open science and sharing research results. So basically, all the solutions that are in the knowledge base are public reports. So they are coming from website, mainly they are on Cordis. So usually the links of the knowledge base are to Cordis, and then the Cordis is the document which is actually publicly available. And the same is going with the international organizations. If there is a document that is closed, that was actually a limitation, a barrier, because we cannot propose it. This is also one of the questions we got with our ethic board about, for instance, what happens if we come across with a scientific publication that we would like to include because it's robust, it has to do with tested solutions, and then some publications are not actually open source, so you cannot actually put it, because, I mean, there we made a methodological decision as a consortium to say, we put the stop there, we work with open solutions, and we keep promoting also this idea of sharing solutions that are available for everybody. Hope I answered a bit the questions, but of course that would be nice to listen to other people how. For us, it's important to see what kind of data, because I would like also to replicate on the questions, which kind of data would other people would be interested to see if this idea of societal testing is good, or if they prefer to work with hard data, or also if they would like to see something different compared to what we are proposing. Of course, as you have seen for the different pilots we have, topics are very far away. That's why we want to work on the underlying factors and common denominators of all the pilot cases, because otherwise it's impossible to really cover all the multiplicity of areas and type of challenges of today, of challenges that could come tomorrow and we don't know yet. So I think that was our proposal. Well, I stop there. Maybe go to the next.
Yeah, I think it's filling time to answer to Eugenia.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Eugenia. I think it's an absolutely crucial one. Will policymakers really use this kind of tool? And I think it's not that it's too academic. I don't think that we really made it down to earth, and there is a little bit of citation and sources, because some policymakers are interested in the in the underlying research, actually, to my experience. But still, I fully agree, no policymaker would go on a Miro board and look for a tool, how can I solve my crisis problem? But I think whom we are also targeting with this are the mediators. I mean, like people with us, for example, we are an innovation policy research institute, and we work very closely with policymakers in the area of innovation policy. And we would be using such a toolbox if it was there for innovation policy and guide the policymakers to apply it. And if there are other similar mediators for health policy, for a crisis policy, and I think they would be the ones using it in practice together with policymakers, and that would be my hope. But I mean, we have to be realistic. I have been involved in real policy making, and nobody would go to a toolbox or open a report and look for solutions in a knowledge base. But they all rely on agencies, on institutes, on think tanks, and if they kind of across Europe use similar toolboxes like this, I think this is the way to go forward, to be realistic. I don't know, Matthias, how you see it for the knowledge base. I think it's pretty similar for the knowledge base. Huh?
Yeah, I don't have really anything to add there. I share your point of view.
Yeah.
Also, in Germany, the ministries have agencies that are more application oriented. They would also be typical users.
Okay, thanks. I think that we can go to the Future Resilience Lab representative. So we can start from Fernando.
Okay. Okay, thanks for the precision and question. Okay, let's say also that we are architects that come from the urban planning field. So in this urban planning, is at least in Spain and most of the countries in Europe are compulsory also the participation process. So we have this kind of background, and also to be fair, because we had a college in the group that are specialized in co-design workshops and processes. So that's a bit how we try to design this process. Also, with a critical point of view of these processes, sometimes that are just focused on to pick up ideas, not in structurally, not in a structured way. So we try to develop a process where the people can receive some knowledge before, so also related with this knowledge valorization, and then they use this knowledge just to analyze and to propose something for the city. So also we can guide a bit to the citizens through this process, and also expecting that this guide process help also that the results of the participatory process will be more easy to adopt for the policy work. So somehow trying to like our role should be a bit like to make the translator between the language, let's say, that speak the policy makers and the citizens of different fields of backgrounds.
Thank you, Fernando. So I think that we can go to, I don't know if there is a question for Tani, but I hope so, or to surely to.
It's the same question for Jenny and Martin.
Yeah.
Martin, yeah, right.
Yeah, I think in terms of what we like to learn from Future Resilience, I think our position is a little bit different because we come in as a foresight team, just as Fraunhofer, but we also have experts in health. So we're on the both sides. So we're both experts on the methodology side, but also on the topic side. So I think and we've done similar processes before. So I think for us it's more the interlinkage to the EU versus national governments, and I think very much the content of the knowledge base. So having access to all these policies, I know this will be a very valuable for us going forward. Because, as I mentioned, we've worked with Canadian government, most of the governments in South America, on health-related issues. So, and we know that this is as I mentioned, this is a really crucial topic. But like 20 years ago, everyone knew that we needed to change the pension system, and no one did anything about it. And so we're a nonprofit, so what we try to do is push this agenda and say somebody needs to listen up here. We actually need to do something about it because a crisis is on our hands. So I think for our side, the policies that we're going to find in a knowledge base, I think it's going to be very, very important.
Thank you. I think that we have Jenny.
Yara, I will open the microphone for Asimina, which is from RDI Institute, and they are also leading the case of Jenny. She said that she wants to add on the question.
Sure.
So Asimina, I'm opening slowly microphone and camera, so you should be able to speak already if you unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, first of all, forgive me for my voice. I had just gone through a very nasty flu. So if something is not intelligible, please tell me and I will explain it. I will say it again. With regard to the question, thank you very much, Viviana, for your question. I would say that Chios, the municipality of Chios as well, it is very important that the municipality is one of the partners involved in this consortium, in this project. It's very important for municipality to be part of this consortium. First of all, because of the financial, the institutional, the research and scientific support it will be receiving within this context, if you will, by placing the problem, the migration problem, which is not a local problem, it is a global problem. And I do not want to be the Cassandra with bearing the negative news, but I think that we are not finished with migration flows, given the fact that we are living in a crisis-ridden world, in a conflict-ridden world. So we have to build strategies for resilience against this kind of problem at the local level, but also making the global community aware of these problems, the European and the global community. So if you like to be able to do this and to become an important front line to bring these problems forth, we need this kind of support from a consortium to bring in the conceptual tools, if you like, to bring in the policy tools, to be able to put these in perspective. Of course, the multi-stakeholder approach is very important in the fact that policymakers and scientists, I'm an economist myself, we have the tendency of being in our ivory towers and most of the time not listening to the voices of the people that have experienced these problems directly. So it is very important in that being part of this consortium to build our knowledge sharing, to build the approaches and the tools for this knowledge sharing. And I would add the knowledge co-creation in order to develop our resilience against the migration problem. And of course, the migration problem is just one problem of the multiple crises environment that we are living in today. So it is, we are living very complex times. So it is very important to be part of this consortium for receiving the institutional and scientific support, first of all. Second, for being able to share our experience and learn from the experiences of others, of course. And finally, to even after the end of the project, to be able to build the synergies and the complementarities that we need to deal with these kinds of problems in the future. So this is my 2 cents. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks. I have seen a question on the question and answer box from Evelyn Tarnus. If Evelyn is there, you can unmute Matthias, Evelyn, and so he can. Is there or not? I'm waiting.
I'm not sure if she's still in the meeting.
Okay.
I cannot see her.
Yeah, maybe she has write the question 30 minutes ago, but I really recap this question. She is a policy advisor at the Regional Agency for Development of La Réunion. They have a challenge to engage the population in participatory approach for resilience toward crisis. Therefore, for this metabolism, 40% of the population is under the poverty and 70% speaks regional languages. Most of them suffer from multiple hierarchy mechanism. The percentage people with higher education is low. We would need a huge empowering program to give people the capacity to take part to the territorial dialogue, participate in labs, workshop, without what this important part of the population would remain marginalized from the foresight exercise. She is interested in developing, testing, and scaling up pilots that could address this specific challenge for La Réunion, but also for other regions facing similar socioeconomic challenges, notably how most regions. Will the knowledge base provide this type of content, and how they develop a kind of follower lab thanks to Future Resilience, maybe local ERDF project, an example of synergy of funds. It was very interesting. I'm so sorry I can stay longer. Unfortunately, it's late in La Réunion. I will connect with Matthias and Philin by email later. Thank you again very much. This is how. Evelyn.
Yeah, I may say just a few words because I was in touch before with Evelyn, and I think the case of La Réunion is quite interesting. We were also thinking for the open call. Hopefully, I mean, we didn't receive any application from overseas departments. La Réunion is an overseas department of France, and that would have been very, very interesting to see. And that the question that she's posing here, I think it's key for also the exploitation plan of the project is how we can continue with what we are proposing in the future. So the same thing that we are helping somehow to valorize knowledge of other projects, European projects, is then how can we continue working with the approach of policy testing and knowledge valorization in the future on the topic of resilience and on other topics that could emerge.
Other questions from the floor? There is, yes, Philin, please.
I would like to add something, because there was another important aspect raised in these questions. I think the inclusion of marginalized and vulnerable groups. And I think this is something that is really key also. Otherwise, we are not really creating societal resilience if we are only talking with elites. And it's also an absolutely crucial challenge in all foresight processes. But I think that especially from some of the other tools that we have found in the knowledge-based research, there is quite some interesting learning on this. And we will definitely link up to this. And I also saw that in the applications we received for the pilots, many raised this issue. One application, for example, wanted to work with homeless people to address housing issues. And I think that's definitely something we have also to integrate in our toolbox. Now it sounds like it's so easy to mobilize the citizens, and it's like you just have to select them, but that's not the whole story indeed. Yeah, very important question, I think.
Yeah, I think I agree with you completely. There are other questions from participants or not? We have 10 minutes to conclude. Yes, Elena, please.
Hi, yes, I will have a question. Elena Grinjec from Epicenter, rather amusing. Really, thank you very much for all the presentations made. I also share the view that the project has a unique space to really address things that haven't been addressed before, meaning participatory policy testing and what the role of experimentation is. But looking from just listening to all of you and looking at the stages that the project goes, my musing, rather, maybe a concluding musing, indeed that pilot labs have an excellent setup to really test, the systemic challenges that they're working on. They first of all they're able to map them and then also really work on the solutions, both by translating existing knowledge into their context, but then trying to harvest also the possible solutions from the population. And as Philin said, we have faced quite a bit of challenges in engaging our populations in policy making in general. And all these processes are co-creative, they're very essential, they are targeting the core of where the solutions lie, but they are also time-consuming. And they also require a lot of stages. But at the end of the day, what we are looking towards is to make changes to those systems. So what are the exact changes, and the policymakers have to implement these changes. So, and we're talking about questions of crisis and resilience. So those changes probably can't wait too long. So my musing was more around the theme of what are really those actionable knowledge or actionable results that we can share among various geographies in a quicker format, so to make sure that things that are tested in one place will not be one-to-one applicable to another one, but what are the means to share these learnings in quicker format, in more visualized format. As Philin also mentioned, policymakers probably are not going to go into the specific tools, but if specific tools are well used across policy labs or think tanks that help policymakers, perhaps that's an avenue to speed up also these change processes in other areas that haven't done the testing. So musing around, the space we are in, the complexity of the questions we're trying to tackle, and then also the speed of the solutions we need to arrive at to really help to be prepared for the crisis.
Thank you so much. We have, in order, Matthias, Iphigenia, and Philin. So Matthias, at this moment, I give floor to the ladies, if you agree. And I start with Philin, and then we move to Iphigenia and then Matthias. Please, Philin.
It's a surprise element in your facilitation, starting from the end. Thank you. Yeah, of course, I share your perception. There's this urgent need to quickly share things, but on the other hand, there is no easy way around it. There is no fast sharing of solutions. I think there's no way around these processes, but the point I was trying to make is that through these processes, communities can be enabled to quicker absorb knowledge, to understand quicker, whether even to realize that we need something new. That is already the first the first process, but then to search it and to find it and to decide, is this applicable for us, and to change it. And if they have decided to actually change the system, and through the process, they strengthen this capacity. And I'm afraid there's no way around this kind of process, because otherwise we will just fail if we try to make things work that have worked in other contexts, because there's so much tech knowledge and so much context. We need place-based solutions, and to strengthen the capacity to find and to develop them. It's my.
Thanks, Feline. Please, Eugenia.
Yeah, no, I don't have a question, but I just wanted to say, listening to you now, that also it makes me think more how this code of practice on citizen engagement would be useful to your work, because these are some of the issues that you are talking about, like how engagement is resource intensive, how there is a need to tap into existing programs, but also to create synergies, how to use what already exists, repositories, toolboxes like yours, how to share. All these things are part of this. And also the question of inclusion and how maybe to make sure that you reach to more vulnerable populations and more marginalized groups, and what kind of also support you need to provide them so that they can participate. So I think all these challenges that you are mentioning, and the knowledge you have on these issues are broader issues about how to engage citizens. And it would really be very nice to see how you will think about the use of the code and how to further develop the existing tools.
Okay. So, Matthias?
Thank you, Ifigenia, also for this point. I think we will be looking forward to have the code of practice also soon, so we can also try to apply it in our pilot cases. And as a social scientist researcher, I'm always very much interested in marginalized communities. I've been working a lot on that topic, and I think it's very critical for our resilience practices. Like leaving no one behind is core. And I think, and it always happened that usually when you close a meeting like that, you go on the city just walking, or for taking fresh air, or going to a supermarket, then you see the normal citizen and say, how would you translate all the things that we are saying to them? But also going to the other side is how we are going to reach also to the policy level at the European Union, how all the things that we are doing is useful for people working at the European Commission, at the Parliament. So how can we engage more on them? I think it's a critical challenge for us, is how to make our work arrive also to these higher levels. So we need to go into the extremes of going to the more marginalized communities, but also we need to make sure that we reach to the higher levels. I know that there are some people of the Commission now connected. If any of you would like to say anything, please, you can raise your hand and we will unmute it also to see your point of view.
Okay, I've seen two raised hands. The first one is from Azimina. So please, Azimina from Caius, I think so.
Thank you very much. I think following up on the issue that was raised, and if I understood it correctly, I think the greatest hurdle we have to face, especially with a pilot case study in HEOS, and speaking with my students as well, I teach public economics and the role of the state. The problem is that people have lost confidence in policymakers and in the competence of the authorities to deal with various crises. So it becomes very difficult to approach them and say, we would like your view. And they would say, why? Will it be of any use to anyone? Will anyone actually listen to us? And then on the other side, you have state officials, administrative officials at the local and European and global levels, of course, who intervened and set aside the people that are indifferent or are serving special interests. We could actually say that people with the most noble intentions were taken by surprise from all of these multiple crises from the beginning of the century, and they were unable to rise up to the occasion. So in this sense, this lack of confidence and this lack of trust in what policymakers can deliver, and from the side of the people, whether even if they contribute their view, policymakers would do anything, I think is one of the greatest hurdles. And we have seen this as we try to approach both the civil society and the administrative agents. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Azimina. We have a question from Leon to Marita. I think that Matthias could unmute it.
Thank you for giving me the floor. I hope that you can all hear me. First of all, I want to thank you for inviting us to follow this very interesting event. It is very close to our interest. I was very happy to see that most of both the advantages and the barriers, as we call it here in the Commission challenges, are exactly the ones that we have also identified. I will just briefly mention that we are working on science for policy. We are a relevantly, let's say, a new team. Our main objective here is for the first time to establish a policy which actually will be focusing on how to support the uptake of science into policy making, in particular through establishing a European Science for Policy ecosystem. It is very broad and vague, I know. It is a very ambitious project. We are in the very, very beginning. We will start working in the context of the European Research Area. We are already using the European Research Area Forum with all the stakeholders to start deciding about the very basics and to find which are the building blocks for such an ecosystem. In principle, what we aim for is to bring together mainly three communities: scientists, intermediaries in the very broad sense. It can be knowledge brokers, scientists that work as science advisors, boundary organizations, and many other structures. And policymakers. Our main objective is to create free flow of information, two-way communication channels so that everybody can reach out to each other and have access to fit-for-purpose information that can be used in real time, when possible. We will be following your work. It is good that it is in the beginning and you already have a lot of work already done. And it is really good that this project, as I saw, ends in the end of 2025, right after the kickstart of the New Era policy agenda. So with the support of Iphigenia and the knowledge valorization team, I think that you can rest assured that we will make the best use of the results that you will have in this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Leontu, Marita. Other question from the floor? We are 6 o'clock, perfectly on time, Matthias, as we expected. But if there is some interesting question, since there is good stuff to talk, we can wait for 5 minutes.
I know that that Italy is always ahead of time, but it's only 4, not 6 o'clock.
Sorry.
Which is nice. I know it's getting dark.
Because I've seen the 16 So I read the 6 only. And,
it's getting
I'm
dark
so sorry.
everywhere. It's fine. So I think we can wrap up. I would like maybe to say thank you to the panelists, to Ifigenia and Roberta for being here, pilot cases, colleagues from the European Commission, and also all the participants that stayed with us for the 2 hours. You are welcome to follow our work, to engage with us also if you have a pilot nearby your area that you would like to engage with. Final pilot cases, all the 10 will be published next week, will be announced also on our social media. So if you see that there is some pilot case nearby, just get to the pilot leader, engage and participate. And if you want to replicate the procedure, we can try to find a way if there are some other funding opportunities in which we can try to further move on with this idea of sharing knowledge and sharing some tools and learning all together on how to build resilience for the future. So again, thank you all for being here, and we hope to see you again in our next policy roundtable coming on next year. So thank you and have a good evening all.